Hello. Welcome to Good Morning Source Gaming. And now we're here.
Hello. Wow.
Hello.
We're live, kiddos.
If it isn't Nan Tenjix.
It is.
Are we live? Are people?
Yes, we're live now. Hello.
Oh, we weren't live. We weren't live before, so nobody heard us talk about.
Okay. So no one heard the deep secrets you three were sharing amongst yourself all before me.
I was just talking about how soulless Funko Pops were mostly. So
I mean,
no secret there.
Always. It's not mostly. It's pretty much always soulless. So joining me today is Colin, Cody, and Spazzy D. So
yeah,
we are going to be doing our second Q&A session. So we still had a few questions over from last time, but we also asked for a bunch of brand new questions. But before we get to that, how is everyone doing today?
Pretty good.
Yeah, man. You missed it, but I was regaling everybody with my tales of eating a breakfast burrito from Wawa. So that's pretty great. Where are you located, Cody? I don't think I know. East Coast, most of the
over on the East Coast.
Okay, so you are familiar with the Wawa.
Yeah, I'm more of a Sheets guy though. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. Listen, we all have our favorite gas station food, but actually, I'm not really familiar with Sheet. Is that
It's more over in Western Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, South New York, around that area.
Gotcha.
We have around tri-state.
We have so many people in the Northeast, so if that's one of the questions we ask, like I feel like if Source Gaming was to have a corporate headquarters, it would probably be like in Jersey State. Yeah, because we can't actually afford anything like in New York, but you know.
Being in Jersey is like a tax dodge, despite the fact that our leader, our supreme leader, is in jolly old UK. It'd be like when American companies set up like random empty offices in Sweden just to. No, that's our headquarters.
Yeah.
That's you can't make us do taxes because our office is actually in a different country that doesn't do taxes.
A number of years ago, I worked at marketing for an engineering company, and we were trying to do business in Venezuela. And if you know anything about that country, they will not allow you to do. Well, first of all, it's doing business in South America is hilarious because it's you know. It's the same everywhere, but it's very overt there. They're just like, okay, so what is the bribe that you would provide us? And we're like, well, okay, well, it's very, very above board on the on how bad everything is. But in order to do business there, you have to be a company that's basically incorporated there. So we had to create like a shell company that was run out of like the broom closet of another company. It was kind of hilarious because it's how business works, man.
Gotta get around all them regulations and shit.
All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of this.
We're gonna jump straight into the Q&A
because we have, I want to say we have like 20 or so questions.
I think
because we still have stuff left over from last time.
Yeah, and
then we just have like a whole smidge from this past few days.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think the one we should start on is the one that's so long it's going past the past the cell in the Excel document.
Well, I think the first one we should answer is Ryo.
I see
from
Ryo
last time that I just skipped over because I just accidentally hit next too many times.
Now you know Ryo. Now you know why it didn't get answered. All right, let's start on that one.
So Ryo asks, "What's your preferred way to drink coffee, and at what time?" I am a cold brew boy, and morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, anytime. Listen, I'm
a coffee 24/7, man.
When it's applicable. That's the best way to put it.
I come from a Cuban family, so cafecito, little espresso, and we're basically weaned on that on the bottle. Like literally, you get café con leche in the bottle. That's not an exaggeration. It's just coffee is such a part of that culture that I've been drinking coffee basically my entire life, and I am at this point more. I'll say this: I think I am not so much a human being as I am a loose association of caffeine molecules in the form of a human. So.
There's a record shop like 45 minutes out from me. It's quite a drive. And the town that it's in is like this very, very busy main road. Like it's not an urban area, but it might as well be, because there's no parking lots or anything, you know what I mean? Like it's just streets of just like stores and storefronts.
Mhm.
So the closest place to park at this record shop is a Dunkin' Donuts, and you have to buy something to actually be able to take advantage of this Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. So I just I usually get coffee after my 45-minute drive over there.
There's a place in Wynwood, down in, if people are familiar with that area. It's kind of Miami's art district. You know, we want to have our very own super artsy. There's like I think most cities are starting to really have this now, where everything is spray painted and nice, and it used to be a poor area, but then they gentrified it by bringing in all of these shops and artists. But yeah, Panther Coffee, man, it's good, and just in general, I do cold brew's good. I have a French press. I like my coffee simple. Sometimes I like to get fancy. I like using macadamia milk, so I guess I'm a little fancy. But just macadamia milk, coffee, a little bit of brown sugar. That's about it.
Yeah, I just pour whole milk into that bitch.
For me, it's a cafe latte, and in the mornings. That's the preferred way. I can't always have the cafe latte, in which case it's just a regular ass French coffee with some soya milk. But always in the morning.
Don't drink any coffee.
You fucking heathen.
Cody
I
doesn't
drink
need
soda,
these drugs
if
to get
anything. That's
awake.
the only thing.
I just wake up and I have a cup of Diet Coke.
I wake up and I have a glass of life, and I feel damn good.
The only thing I have with caffeine is soda, and I don't usually have that till like lunchtime, if anything. So, yeah.
Okay.
I usually have water in the morning.
I remember when I really started, like, because you drink like in college and whatever. I'll have a cup of coffee to go over, but I remember when I was working at Universal, I picked up, we had a short staff, worked at the Jurassic Park River Adventure, for those that don't know. So like there was just open overtime. So me and two of my friends were trying to pick up, so you could pick up the most shifts. One, for money, but B, just because you do that with friends sometimes. You're like, no, screw you guys, I can do the most. And so I picked up 96 hours in a week. And I remember,
Wow.
I remember this is the first time this happened, where I was drinking so much caffeine. I drank a Red Bull, and I literally could not stop shaking. It was like heart palpitations, man. So yeah, man, caffeine's a lot. Caffeine's a legit drug, dudes. Just don't overdo it. It's the more you know. That's the spazzy message of the day. All right, I'm done talking about coffee.
All right.
Next question is you can tell this is an old question. With the release of Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory finally here.
I mean, I'm still playing it, so it's basically brand new for me.
I feel like most people just picked it up. I was wondering what series you'd like to get rhythm game spin-offs. And this was from Grillis. Or Grylis. I think it's just Grillis.
So he mentions two examples being Sonic and Kirby, and I think the Sonic one is absolutely it. I mean, like if there's one consistent thing in that series, it's the high quality music. And
true.
Yeah. So a Sonic rhythm game would be absolutely balling.
I didn't know they mentioned Kirby in that post, but that's immediately what I thought of. Was
Yeah, Kirby One
Kirby
Beyond.
has
Yeah.
Kirby has so much good music that I mean, there's already DDD's Drum Dash. Technically, I guess that counts. As
no,
a rhythm
he says
spin-off,
specifically a full Kirby One Beyond the Drum
yeah,
Dash.
a full one would be great. Yeah.
So we're talking about any a rhythm game for any
series.
Any game series.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What would you like to see a rhythm game spin-off of? Like we got with Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy.
I'll try not to do. You know what? I'm gonna go out and say Castlevania because I like that music and I think it'd be very silly. And there's an inherent silliness to Castlevania that since Igarashi left, I'm hoping they will still lean into if they do anything with that series. Because yeah, it's this gothic horror, but it's also like, as part of it is Igarashi, like with the obsession with chairs and like the Yurik, the skeleton that's Yurik that's chasing his skull, and it's a really silly franchise sometimes too. And it's also a franchise that's not afraid to do weird spin-offs. So I'm gonna say Castlevania.
Cool.
I would love a rhythm game spin-off of Guitar Hero. It's been a while.
I mean,
it's been a while since we've seen a new Guitar Hero game, and I would love, if they just turned that franchise into a rhythm game.
I wonder if that one doesn't count somehow.
No, they could. I mean, this is a joke answer, of course, but I don't know. You guys remember Rock Band Unplugged on the PSP? It's very good. It's very good for what it was attempting to do. I don't know. I'm so far gone on rhythm games that at this point I just want like a really good base of a rhythm game and then just be able to like import content into it like a Clone Hero.
Cody Pettit in chat said, "How about Mother Earthbound?" Yeah, but I don't know if that license if that will be if the IP will be used for anything. Number one, and number two, the music is based on other stuff.
yeah. The music's always been in this weird limbo, and I'm pretty sure that's why it took so long for Earthbound to get on the Virtual Console because of all of the different. They were probably worried about a lot of the copyright stuff that's in that game.
That's what happens when you put samples of the Beatles
in
your video game
multiple times,
several times.
Yeah.
I mean, Cyber RB25 says that Splatoon would be a good one. And I agree on that one.
Oh, it's already got one. Really, it's already got a little rhythm game in the game.
Yeah, the Splatoon dance floor,
just
but
fully
a
flesh that out.
one,
yeah,
which I didn't realize was in the game, so I completely missed that.
You know what would be fun? A Splatoon skin Dance Revolution, where you have like the Squid Sisters and
Dance Dance.
Callie Marie. Yeah,
man, imagine a console Dance Revolution. How many years has it been since you've had to bust out the dance mat?
Once again, Konami doesn't make games.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah. I feel like Kinect's Dance Central, and then Just Dance have sort of eaten into that, into that thing. Although, I don't know, I don't think they're as fun as the Dance Revolution games. Actually, Dance Central is pretty good, but you need the camera for that. But Just Dance is like a lesser man's a lesser man's DDR.
All right. Would be good. Our next question is, and we can. This is from Blitz, and I only expect Spazzy to answer this one. Best fast food for breakfast, Spazzy.
Okay, so this is a loaded question because it really deals with what you're into. So I'm going to throw a couple things out there. Number one, I am eating Wawa. Wawa is ostensibly not really fast food as much as it is a gas station, but it does serve food, and that's what it's known for. And I do think their breakfast selection is pretty good. Wendy's breakfast is actually pretty baller, and yeah,
you know what? I the joke was that I wanted you to just say like Wawa breakfast burrito, and then we moved on. But I do have to agree with you because have you had? I'm gonna sound so fat right now.
Breakfast Baconator?
Yes.
Oh, it's so good, man.
I hate myself whenever I eat it, but it's it is so fucking good. It is so good. Oh man.
And a special
classic.
shout out. A special shout out to the Taco Bell breakfast, which is different from everything else because it's Taco Bell. Like that breakfast crunch wrap actually is pretty clean. Okay, that's it. If anyone has any more to add.
My only critique of Wendy's fast food breakfast is that all of the sides are terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you either have apple slices, who fucking cares? You have their weird oatmeal bar that's like hardtack. And then you have like the weird like seasoned potatoes, and I'm like, no, like no one's gonna accuse you of ripping off McDonald's if you just have a fucking hash brown. Like just have a hash brown.
And McDonald's still has the best version of the morning hash brown in the sleeve.
Yeah. It's a banger.
Yeah. I think my go-to fast food occasionally, I don't do this all the time, but you were just talking about Wawa, and I'll talk about Sheetz again. Sheetz is also like a gas station, and I'll get, sometimes in the morning, I'll get their chili dogs for breakfast. It's very good. And
well, when
like
I was
hot dog special, so I usually get 2 of them.
Oh man, when I was in Japan, like I can't believe this is the question we're going to spend the most time on. I'm sorry, Smash fans, but when I was in Japan, like we went to the Konbini, like the convenience store,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, even though it was like 9 a.m, like I feel like only Nan can relate to this, but you go into a Japanese convenience store for the first time, and you're like, I have to try everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, because
yeah.
you see like 50 different types of foods, and you're like, well, this has to be a fucking experience. And so I think I have a picture of it. I'm not gonna look it up. But I had a jumbo American dog.
Oh.
Wow.
Which
you like a corn dog, right?
Nah, I know exactly what it is.
it's weird. They have corn dogs, but they're not corn dogs.
Yeah, they don't use corn.
There's some
Yeah.
They don't use corn.
Yeah.
They use like a donut dough.
Yeah.
So it's this like very sweet, crispity corn dog, and then they give you little ketchup and mustard packets, and it was pretty good. And I had that at like 9 a.m. Anywho, next question. Nan, fuck you. You don't get the answer.
It's gonna be McDonald's. We don't get much fast food here.
Oh, there you go.
I wouldn't count the sandwich shop as fast food.
Before we move on, Jex, for your McDonald's, do you guys put beans on it?
No. No, maybe you can buy a pot of beans, but I don't. Egg McMuffin all the way, and a hash brown.
Okay, so
what would
it
you
is
do
on the
if
menu.
they added? What would you do if they added a Mick jacket potato?
A Mick jacket potato.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like I'd still go for the chips or hash brown. It's going to be hard to eat. The whole jacket potato.
I saw someone ask some sort of Sora Smash question. We can come back to questions if we have time at the end, but since we have a list, we probably won't be answering anything from the chat, unless it's a super chat, because, you know.
Yeah. The special privilege.
Cloaked asks, are you going to be making more Mega Smash polls as new fighters are being released? Probably not.
Yeah, we'll make one more Mega Smash poll after all of the DLC is released. Once Smash has been confirmed to be finished, we'll make another one that looks back at everything and then talks about asks for what people's opinions would be on a potential future Smash.
Yeah, it's so weird. People want us to like run a new mega poll like every other month, and it's like, for what purpose? They're not like,
there's no reason.
What are you going to do with this information?
Yeah, people just like putting their opinions down because people's opinions, especially in Smash, fluctuate all the time. And so they might have put down fucking Sora before, but now that Sephiroth's here, they're like, well, I don't want Sora, so it's going to be someone else that I want to put down now. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
And just to be clear, too, I think, because I know there might be some follow-up for this, if for some weird reason they did announce like another Fighters Pass or extra DLC, I think doing a Mega Smash poll before that would make sense, but I really, really, really don't think there's going to be any more DLC. I think this is it.
Yeah, same. Although I said that last time, so who knows?
So, yeah.
We'll all pass on if they announce Fighter 3.
My original prediction was that they were gonna do 2 more passes when I was back in like the middle of 1. So I'm gonna stick with that. I think there might be 1 more.
Stick with the gun. And if there's one more, I don't expect there to be any more than 4 characters.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna be in
I don't
hell.
think it will be that big.
It'll be like one more year and just a few extra.
Yeah,
stuff
1 more
on there.
year is probably what I would expect too.
Yeah,
The game is still selling very well.
It is.
Yeah.
but it's been dropping in sales every single year.
It plateaued. It plateaued
Yeah.
pretty hard.
And
Right.
I'm sure Sakurai likes working on the DLC because it's much easier than making a full game. But at the same time, I'm sure that he must want to actually make something that's not Smash, at least this decade.
And I know sales have dropped.
been
I'm talking
10
about it
years.
plateauing, but it's still consistently in the top 10 best-selling games globally every week. So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's plateaued. It's still selling better than almost every game that comes out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
That's
very
fine.
curious when the when is it, like the February 1st investor meeting?
Yeah, it should be. The Switch is in
Oh,
such a
I
weird
forgot about
position.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question by Meatballs, which is a good Italian dish. Any super small games you want people to check out, new or old?
Yes, Horus. Play Horus. That was a good one that I discovered, and it was like less than £1 on the eShop over the Christmas period. I don't know what it's like now, but that was like it's like very British, but it's a cool mix of a platformer, a puzzle platformer with open world Metroidvania elements. It's a big, very narrative driven. There's a lot of mini games. There's a Guitar Hero mini game in it. They did a cool thing in the arcades where he basically remade a bunch of old arcade games like Space Invaders and Pac-Man and Outrun, but changed the theming so they were all based on old like 80s movie. So instead of Pac-Man, it's Ghostbusters, and it's role reversal. So instead of the ghosts, it's the Ghostbusters that are chasing you, and you play as Slimer, and you've got to slime everything before the Ghostbusters catch you. And then instead of Outrun, the Outrun parody is based on Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where you're in the car with Ferris and his friend and his girlfriend instead.
Wow.
That sounds really delightful.
You mean Cameron?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever his name
His
is.
friend.
Like it's just very charming, and it just keeps going on. Like one minute you think you're done, and then suddenly there's a big Metroidvania map and all these unlockables and bosses, and then there's a boss rush, and then I don't want to spoil anything because the story goes places, but it was a very nice surprise at the end of the year. So I highly recommend it for people.
Nice. I'd probably give a shout out to I don't know, No Straight Roads. I feel like that
Nice.
that like I'm really glad we were able to give it a mini shout out.
Mm-hmm.
2 mini shout outs during the Game of the Year awards. I feel like I kind of wanted to talk more about that game, but I don't think I've ever gotten the chance to talk about it on Good Morning Source Gaming.
We can
Because
talk about it at some point because I literally just started playing it with my housemate yesterday.
Ooh,
So we've done the first
okay.
boss, and we're going to be doing it in co-op.
Well, my quick and dirty opinions on it are that like the gameplay itself is like super okay.
Mm.
It's not the most like mechanically driven like, oh man, like I'm playing a video game here. But everything else about it, like the art and the writing and the music, is like 10 out of 10, like perfect.
Music's fantastic. The soundtrack is the reason I bought the game, because I was listening to the soundtrack while working for like basically a whole week straight, and I was like, right, okay, I should probably try out the game that this music comes from.
Yeah, it is the one video where I feel like it is okay. It is a-okay to buy the collector's edition, because even though the game itself may not be the best thing you'll ever play, like it comes with the soundtrack both digitally and on a vinyl record,
Nice.
and it comes with an art book, and it's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, for a game with such good presentation. These are good things to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then they ruin it because they do that stupid collector's edition bullshit by putting in something useless, like drumsticks in this case. And you're like, no, stop! You didn't need this.
Yeah,
Wanna
I
throw
always
these
use
out.
more. I could always use more drumsticks.
drumsticks or guitar picks are at least very subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a big glass NES cartridge.
Oh,
I'd like to take this time to once again implore people to play Killer Queen Black, including people on staff. Like I really enjoyed that game when I first played it.
Fun.
Yeah, at E3. But the problem with that game is that it's only really fun, and I mean like super super fun, when you have an entire group together, like a full party, so to speak, and have voice chat. We should try to. I know several of us on staff have that. We should try to organize something with it, because that game is so much fun when you're with friends. It's so easy to play because it's basically Joust. You know, you're when you're playing as a queen, and if not, it's even simpler. But there's so many layers of strategy and different ways to win, and it's Killer Queen Black. Look it up. It was showcased by Nintendo actually a couple of years ago, and then kind of dropped off the face of the earth. But yeah, do yourself a favor and just check that game out. It's tons of fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I've got it, but I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know Mango has it, Cody has it, Jax has it. I think Colin has it too. We definitely have people that own the game.
Yeah.
We just never play it.
Mm-hmm. I think if I were to suggest a game, I play so many like weird small games. I think the most recent one I played that nobody really knows about is like this. It's not really like a game that's on any consoles or anything, but it's actually like a fan game that's like fully fleshed out and everything, called Mother Cognitive Dissonance, which is like an Earthbound style game that takes place in between Mother 1 and 2, and it has a lot of inspiration in its art style and its music from Earthbound, but it's really its own thing, and it has its own battle system and everything. It's not many people really know about it, but that to me is kind of like the successor to the Mother series in a way. It feels really great to play, and it's a little dated because it's from like 10 years ago, but it's really, really good for what it is.
Yeah, I think you've been streaming that, haven't you, over on Mother Forever?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I've been playing through that, and it's been a lot of fun. Love that.
Nice.
All right. So all those questions we asked were from the last batch of questions. There's still a handful of those left, but we are at the 30-minute mark, so I decided we should jump into the current questions.
Yeah, we can always go back
just
to
to
them. So.
have a nice blend of everything. So, first question, very dated. Somehow, the question asked only 2 days ago is somehow more dated than the questions asked like 3 months ago.
This was just unfortunately dated.
This is, well, I mean, let's be glad it's dated.
Yeah.
But I do kind of want to talk about it. What are your thoughts on the new pricing for Xbox Live Gold, especially as it compares to online subscriptions from competition? If you somehow did not know, Microsoft decided, what was it, on Friday? Friday morning, to raise the price of Xbox Live Gold to essentially just be double of what it costs. So instead of a year for $60, it was $60 for 6 months, and then so a year would be like $120. And then I think that made like Game Pass Ultimate like $180 a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by midnight Friday, they had already reversed it because the backlash was so great, which, yeah, like it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I wonder, honestly, if how much of this was them testing the waters and how much of this was almost like a pre-planned move to be like, hey, we can get good publicity if we say we're going to do this. And if there is no backlash, or minimal backlash, then great. But if not, we look like we're really responsive to customer needs. I don't think so, because I feel like Xbox is too big of a company to put things into motion and then stop them. Like for a ploy like this, number one, and number two, I think we've seen Xbox do this before. I think remember when the Xbox One was announced, they said they were toying with all digital, and then there was such a backlash that didn't happen.
Yeah.
See,
I don't think that happened, and the reason being is because if Microsoft wanted to do like a controlled leak, they would have just done it. The thing is that like the new pricing was like effective immediate. Like what actually broke the story first was the fact that stores like Best Buy and GameStop were already getting the $60 for 6-month cards in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So like that's not what you do when you're trying to test the waters. That's when you're like, yeah, no, this is a thing we're just gonna do. And they even tried to sweeten it by saying like, oh well, they tried to do like the humble choice thing where they're like, well, if you still stay subscribed, you get the cheaper price.
You get grandfathered in. Yep.
Yeah. Don't miss a single pay date, you fucking idiot. Kind of stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like this is like, I feel like I really like how Microsoft has handled the Xbox as of late. They have been very pro consumer with stuff like Game Pass and
doing a great job with it lately.
And essentially just trying to give you as much hardware for your for your dollar. Because the One X was ridiculously powerful, and then like the Series S is like $300.
From a pure hardware standpoint, Xbox makes the best hardware. They just do.
Yeah.
Like the look at them. I'm sorry, and I think Sony has more value as a software developer as far as first party kind of software goes. But Xbox, like the way the Xbox Series X is engineered compared to the monstrosity that is the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
You might think it looks boring, but the fact that they're able to put that much power into something it's a more powerful box. And the parts that people might say, well, it's got a slower SSD. Well, they could have just swapped that out. That's just a cost saving measure. The actual engineering of it to put that much raw power into that small and simple of a box is impressive.
Yeah, people finally realized once the thing was actually out that yes, it is in fact as tall as a One X.
Yeah,
which in of itself was a really tiny console. So, because isn't the Series S like the size of a dictionary? Like it's
Series S
tiny.
I have a picture of it next to my Wii, and that's the only console that makes it look big. And it's not even that big. It's very small. Series S.
But going back to this, like obviously the one thing Microsoft has going for it is the services, is the fact that Xbox Live has always consistently been the best online functionality wise. It just even back in the original Xbox, obviously, and the 360 days, like they just had a much better service overall. But nowadays, where charging for online multiplayer in the 6th generation, the 7th generation was maybe like a bit novel because it was still fairly new. Mm-hmm. So Microsoft putting up a dedicated system to host all this stuff seemed like, oh yeah, no, this is worth the price of admission, because no other company was daring to do that. Sony wasn't doing that, Nintendo wasn't doing that, or Nintendo planned to do it and then didn't. But I mean, now it's like, really, like we're still paying for online multiplayer on a console, and granted, yeah, companies make more money in the long run from subscriptions and software than they ever will on the hardware. But it is a situation where in this case, like, Microsoft's whole gaggle is that, like, they want to pass the savings on to you. They want to be like, well, if you pay up front for the hardware, then all you got to do is pay $10 a month and you have like 100,000 fucking games.
And how much is gold now? It's like what, $60?
It's always been
cheaper, I know,
it's always been $60 a year, and they wanted to make it $120 a year, which is absolutely ridiculous.
That's the same as Game Pass, which is bundled with gold, right? Like if you do the Game Pass that just has
if you do Game Pass Ultimate, it comes with gold.
Okay, but if you do Game Pass not Ultimate, the one that's, because Game Pass Ultimate is the one that has PC and console, correct?
Yeah.
So if you do the one that's just Xbox, gold isn't bundled in.
No. Well, Game Pass Ultimate is PC, console, and gold.
Exactly, but my thing is, if you have Game Pass, you're gonna basically need Xbox Gold. So you should just do Game Pass because that's gonna be the same price, because that's an extra $60 a year. It's an extra $5.
Yeah.
So just do and plus you get and I think part of the problem is too that as somebody that only recently got Game Pass, but someone that had gold forever, is at least the games with gold used to be, good. Now we still get a couple of them, but they're, just like a random Xbox 360 game, and they're not, they don't hold the same value because Xbox and Microsoft, doesn't obviously care as much about the games that people are getting for free with gold because they're pushing Game Pass so much. So there's less of a value to it as far as the free games go. So it's ludicrous to be paying more, especially if it was $120. If it was $120, that would just be a move to try to get people to get Game Pass Ultimate, because it's not that much more expensive, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But a move like this, like, I was gonna say, if they had actually committed to this, like, this would have outright killed, like, the Series S, because at that point, like, you're not saving money. The whole point of the Series S is to make a more budgeted friendly console, but it's digital only, so they kind of want you to rely on buying games digitally and Game Pass. And if you rise, like, the price of these services to the point where a year costs, like, nearly half of what you paid for the console, fucking no one's gonna do that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because Game Pass by itself. So it's $15. So it's 180, right? 180 a year.
Yeah.
So for $60 more, you'd get Game Pass Ultimate, and that's the price of one game. So it would make 0 sense to keep it, which I think is what they were trying to do, saying, "Hey, we're really trying to force you out of this low tier option," and I think is what that would be. Real quick, just because I think this is a fun story. So as far as people changing pricing and stuff, I just always think this is a fun little thing to share. In the comic book industry, way back in the day, comic books were all 50 cents, and Marvel Comics wanted to raise it to 75 cents. And they said, "Ooh, people aren't going to like that. People have been paying 50 cents forever. Because of inflation, it should be more, but people don't like paying more for things." So they came up with this plan where they kept leaking that it was going to be $1. They're like, it's going to, and so everyone in the industry knew that it was going to be $1. So, they're like, hey, and then for 1 month, they did raise it to $1. DC knew they were doing it too. So DC Comics also raised their comics to $1, and they had already had it set up so the next month when the comics came out, they were 75 cents. So they forced DC's hand to raise their comics to $1 and then just set their comics to 75 cents. So they raised their comics, but still looked like they were cheap because they forced the competition to raise the price. And I think that's a funny story because I feel like companies still do that stuff all the time. I feel like Sony and Microsoft were trying to do that before their consoles came out.
Yeah, I feel like that's happening with the whole $70 games thing right now.
Yeah, it's just funny how different companies and corporations play these pricing games, because you want to get market value for it. But what is market value? Market value is determined not only by yourself, but by what the competition is willing to pay. So if you can get them to pay more, then you can raise your prices and still look cheap. I just think that's a funny story. I wanted to bring it up because this talk reminded me of it. Anyways,
I buy all of my subscription services yearly because it's a better deal.
Yeah, it usually is.
Yes.
And also because unlike streaming services, the yearly passes go on sale like all the time. Especially around Black Friday. Like, I've always consistently gotten a year of PS Plus on Black Friday every single year because they always drop it to like $40.
I've never had PS Plus. Maybe I had it for like a very short amount of time.
And
but
then, yeah.
I have PS Plus, but it's really easy. It's really easy to get a hold of PS Plus for cheap. Getting like a 12-month or 24-month card.
Even Switch Online, which in of itself like is already fairly cheap, like goes on sale all the time. I'm pretty sure Target for the past week or so had the family subscription for $20 instead of $35. Which at that point, if you have like 8 people, it's nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have, like a family plan with a bunch of my friends, and when I saw that sale on Target, I was like, oh yeah, I'll buy that for the next year because it stacks. So
Yep.
Honestly, like listen, it's still, big think emoji that Nintendo is charging for its online. I know it's like the cool thing to do now. Microsoft doing it for like 4 generations means it's okay, I guess. But the family plan is the smartest part of it, and I wish Gold had that too, because in high school, like, me and my friends would have to like scrounge money to even pay for our own live Gold subscriptions, and that's where that's why every big Xbox game coming with those 48-hour trials was such a godsend.
Yeah, I don't
because
mind.
if your Gold ran out, you'd have like 2 days to play some more COD 4 before you can have to go to Best Buy and buy another like 3 months.
Yeah, my thing with PS Plus in particular is that I feel like all of the games that I play on Sony consoles are their first party games, which are basically these giant story driven single player games. There hasn't been really one game that I've wanted to play on multiplayer on the PlayStation, Fall Guys or whatever. I never played it. But I'm saying, like, for the most part, that's not what I play a Sony system for. It is kind of what I own an Xbox for. I don't mind Nintendo's because with the family plan and the sales, it's so cheap. It's almost nothing.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
And it's worth it literally for me for having. I know I own all these I own Super Metroid like 6 times. Legally own Super Metroid 6 times. I own the original Mario Brothers a ridiculous amount of times. Original Super Mario Brothers. I own the original Mario Brothers a couple times too. But that being said, it's nice to, like, their extras are fine for the price. Having Tetris 99 and things. I wish they added more value to it, and it did more things like Tetris 99 and the Mario 35 and things like that. But because it's so cheap, like, I don't care. There's a level of it, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be paying for online on the Switch. But it's so cheap, man.
The family membership is like you literally just need like one person to give you $10 and another person to give you $10, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And you split it 8 ways. It's just like everybody pays basically nothing.
Just gotta make this Wawa's breakfast, once or twice, and then I'm good. I'm good for a year.
For the price of a cup of coffee from like 5 people, like, it's already paid off.
Yeah, I don't think like the online service doesn't really have that good of online service, but everything else with it is great.
Well, that's a little more nuanced because that's technically not the service.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's another weird thing.
Yeah.
it
just comes with it.
But anyway, yeah, I'm really glad they reversed this decision. Because it really did. I like the Xbox, but it really did make me hardcore reconsider for a moment actually continuing to use one, because it's like $120 for online is ridiculous. Just
Yeah,
absolutely
I
absurd.
I have partially because I bought an S. I have Game Pass Ultimate, so it wouldn't really have affected me. But I would not have thought it was a cool, like pretty much everything Nintendo does, where I'm all like, none of this affects me. I'm not into this competitive game. I don't play this or that, because I feel like every time Nintendo does a terrible move and people are like, how do you still support this company? I'm like, because I like their games, and everything they're doing is yeah, it's shitty, but it doesn't affect me directly, so it kind of sucks to say, but like, whatever.
Yeah, big.
It would have been that sort of deal for me.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing with what is it? Xbox Live Gold, is that the even though they had promised that earlier in the Xbox One generation that they would allow people to play free-to-play games without having to pay for gold to play online, they still had not done it.
They just avoided it.
until like reversing this decision. Like, they were still dragging their feet on letting people play free-to-play games online for free, even after raising the price to $120 a year.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too is that there has been a history of certain games. I think some of the Final Fantasy MMOs having issues with Microsoft because of that, because there's like they don't believe there should be, for a game that already has a paywall and a barrier of entry, because of that there shouldn't be a second one. They're like, we don't want to put this on your service if you're also going to charge again.
Yeah, and this is the problem that EA had with EA Origin, I believe, where EA pay for that and then also pay for Xbox Live, so you're paying double, which people didn't like, which is why EA Origin is now sort of free with Xbox Game Pass or whatever.
Pass, which is a great deal, man. I know everyone says Game Pass is a great deal, and I always knew conceptually it was a good deal, but once you have it, it's crazy how much you get with that. Like, there's
really so much value there.
I just bought Control on my PC on a sale on, I think it might have been on GOG, whatever platform it was I was using. And I got Game Pass like a month later, and Control was on there. I was like, that sucks. But there's so many like great games and newer games. I don't know. I think Game Pass for PC, or I think Ultimate in particular is a crazy value, man.
Yeah. I like just jumping around to a bunch of different games. Like, I've been playing. I played Downwell. I tried it, and then I bought it on the Switch when it went on sale for like $1. I tried it on Game Pass though, and then I tried Ukulele. I tried Age of Empires. It's been fun.
The free trial I had of, so I don't have Game Pass, but the free trial I had of PS Now, which is basically PlayStation's lesser version of it, was pretty good. It's just a matter of like, you have friends round and you're like, what should we play? Let's just try out a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah,
and see what sticks.
That's what my friend group has been doing too.
I've been playing through. I'm almost done. I think I'll probably beat it this weekend. Jedi Fallen Order, which is just on there. It's like, hey, why not? Let me play that.
One day
yeah, Doom Eternal's on there, which I already bought digitally prior to getting it, but it's a good service. Like, they're really, especially with the EA stuff and the Square stuff, you can play so many different Final Fantasy games. I might finally play some Kingdom Hearts games that aren't just the first Kingdom Hearts after many years. Because they're all on there too. Yeah, sorry.
Should we move on? Yeah, because it's been 20 minutes.
Yeah, at some point we're gonna need to talk about Smash, because that's what people want. So before we
get into questions,
I promise. You can leave if you want, Colin, before then. But I promise at the very end we'll at least get to a couple of Smash questions.
Next question is: will you please follow me on Twitter? This was asked by no name. Well, I can't. Sorry.
Yep, sorry.
It's not happening.
Rip. I'm afraid not.
Yeah. Another no-name asks, what are your favorite video game soundtracks of all time? Mine, I've said this many a time before. Mine would probably have to be Outrun, because it's a banger. And then I don't know, like I think a while ago I wrote like my top 5 favorite game soundtracks. Fallout 3 is definitely up there, and then like Half-Life 2 and Mario 64 are definitely.
Yeah, I think Valhalla is definitely up there. That's one I listen to a lot. And I don't know if it's cheating to put Sayonara Wild Hearts on there, seeing as it's basically just a music video.
Yeah, but like it was made for the game, so it's like mine. Yeah,
that's another really good one. I don't know. There's like it's hard to say which ones are my favorites.
Video
like,
game
obviously
music
I like
is good.
Zelda and Mario.
Yeah.
That's the thing me and my friends have been noticing recently, that it's hard to find a game without a good soundtrack nowadays.
Yeah, when was the last time, because we all do this here, that you reviewed a game where you're all like, that soundtrack sucks? I mean, sometimes there's a couple games I can think of where I'm all like, the soundtrack isn't memorable.
Yeah.
Or
that's it,
yeah.
at most. There hasn't been like a bad soundtrack.
Yeah, the last time there was a bad soundtrack was Yoshi's New Island.
Honestly, I
Yoshi's
fall
Crafted
more
World.
into I fall more into that sort of camp of like not that it's bad, but just that like it's so because video game audio mixing is shit. So like so much just like generic orchestration and stuff will just be pushed into the background, that to the point where I just don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess for mine, I'll start by saying probably my favorite of all time, and part of it's nostalgia, part of it's just because it's so damn good, is the Chrono Trigger OST. I feel like I revisit that as a playlist on YouTube a lot when I'm working, just because it's very, very good.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger.
It's no surprise to anyone there. That's just a great one. Recently, and I think it's because I've been playing the game recently, I've been listening to the Hades soundtrack too, and I think Hades has some great music, and I think it's kind of subtle too, because it's got kind of like this Greek flair, but it's kind of got this like some of the arrangements are almost metal. It's really good. I dig it a lot. It's also good, and I'm gonna throw out because I love NES music so much, and this one is, I feel like, underappreciated for just how good it is. Journey to Silius, which is an NES run and gun game, which you can play right now on with the Switch Online, the NES portion. I suggest you do that. I believe a little background on the game is it was originally supposed to be a Terminator game, and then they lost the license, so they just made it whatever. But it's got one of the best NES soundtracks, and it's very underrated. So if you like kind of chiptunes and old school music from video games, go onto YouTube and just find a playlist for Journey to Silius. And also, like, you can play it. It's, if you have Nintendo Switch Online, it's free. And check it out. It's definitely got some bangers on it.
I have three records of video game soundtracks. One is Outrun, the other is Red Dead Redemption, and then the third one I just got is DJ Cutman's Wii U Grooves, which is the Wii U.
I saw that.
Yeah. Bless up. Fucking God bless DJ Cutman for making like a physical copy of that album. Jesus Christ. So good.
Yeah, my top 3 soundtracks are probably number 1, Undertale, number 2, Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland, and number 3, Wario Land 4.
That is, none of those are Earthbound. What the fuck?
I like Earthbound and Mother 3 a lot, but I think those 3 have better music.
Wario Land's an interesting pull. Wario Land is a very interesting pull.
Undertale uses a lot of Earthbound sound fonts, so I mean, maybe some of the nostalgia from Earthbound is utilized in Undertale, liking that soundtrack. Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland is probably mostly nostalgia, because like that was one of the first games I ever played. but I also just that soundtrack's so good. Kirby just has such good music. And Wario Land 4 is just a game that not many people have played, but oh my, that game is so underrated. Like the gameplay is so clean and very responsive. It's a platformer game.
Was that the one that was free, quote unquote free for the Nintendo Ambassador program?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
I
bought like a Nintendo Ambassador 3DS just so I could have that game on the 3DS.
I had a Nintendo Ambassador 3DS because I am a Nintendo fanboy and I had to buy it at launch.
Yeah, that game has incredible music and gameplay. That game overall is great. Yeah.
Anyway. So that's that.
Yep.
Let's see. Wonderful Goldens asks a Smash question. With some of you thinking Geno was likely due to fan demand, is there any different character you could see replacing Geno as that fan demand character? Is there anyone left?
Not really. Not unless you, not unless you still believe Bandanity or Dixie Kong have a chance. No.
See, that's like the reason why. Because so
I didn't even think those ones are like that high.
Sora's like that too. Sora, I don't think Sora has much of a chance, but Sora's another big fan demand character.
So no shade to this lovely viewer. But he put fan demand in quotations. But, like, I would argue that, no, fan demand, like, that's why K. Rool and Ridley are in Smash.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt, that is why they are in Smash Ultimate. Like, without
Sakurai said... Yeah. Sakurai said it. He said, due to the Smash poll, it's why we got Ridley, K. Rool, and the Belmonts. And I wouldn't doubt if that's played some role in Isabelle, although Isabelle would have been in anyways.
Yeah, Isabelle's kind of like Inkling and in that big name and all that.
A no-brainer.
Yeah,
right.
But like, this is the thing, right? The fan demand for Geno, the only reason it's such the big hype one is because of how long Geno's been going for. And if you really think about these big hype ones, the only ones that are left are like Geno, Waluigi, Sora, Bandanity, and Dixie Kong, and
Crystal and Isaac were also old leftovers, but they're out of the running.
Crystal, Isaac, and Waluigi are all out of the running. Geno is now deconfirmed, so it's a matter of whether you think Sora, Dixie Kong, or Bandanity have a shot, and arguably none of them do. Lloyd
is kind of like that too.
I would say Lloyd is on the same level as many of the other third parties like Ryu Hayabusa and stuff. They're the ones that sort of people expect as big third-party names, but they're not the
Crash is another one that's
fan demand character. They're not people who the mass. What's the right word? They're not people that the loud minority have been screaming for years and years and years.
Definitely.
I think if anything, that's actually like muddied the waters a bit, and it's made a lot of people who do nothing other than shout random names of random video game characters, just because why not? In regards to like, oh yeah, we can definitely get this into Smash if we lobby like a politician to get them into Smash Brothers.
The K. Rool campaigners, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think Dixie Kong and Bandanity will only have a chance if they have like a game coming out this year. That's the only thing I can really see, and that's even then, I don't think it's a large shot.
Neither of them are main characters. They're both big. They're both important characters to their series
in Smash.
Yeah. So like, I feel like Dixie Kong and Bandanity are perfect base game characters for the next Smash.
Yeah, but for DLC, it's not very likely.
Yeah.
But as far as characters replacing, I don't think you can replace Geno, like because his fan demand was so unique. Geno was not. I know some people are gonna be like, oh, but Geno was not a flavor of the month character. It is something that people have been asking for since what, Melee Brawl? Like Geno, a long ass time.
Geno's been requested since the Smash 2 poll, which came out before Melee. So
Yeah, I would say Gino, Banjo, K. Rool, and Ridley have all been like in this weird area where they've just had so much fan demand since
the first game.
Yeah, really, especially since Brawl.
Yeah.
And and really all of the characters, are either. I mean, pretty much everybody's a spirit, but all of the big ones are also either assists and or costumes. At this point, I think Bandana Waddle Dee is the only one that's not either of those.
Bandana Waddle Dee.
Even Dixie has a costume.
Yeah, Dixie has a me hat, which I'm surprised Bandana Dee doesn't have a random me hat, considering it's just a bandana.
There was a me hat. There was a me hat for him in like the Street Pass thing, but they just didn't want to reuse that, I guess.
Yeah, he's the only obviously missing one because he's just a spirit.
Yeah, there are a lot of like Kirby things that are missing that I feel like is probably because of Sakurai's bias towards his own Kirby creations, but that's okay.
By the way, Waterfall, even though we said one question per person, he did ask 2, and it was for Push Dustin. His question, because remember, you can ask questions towards specific staff members, but no one does it. What is your mascot's name? Source-kun.
Yeah, Source-kun.
Yeah.
Source-kun, yeah.
There you go.
We're not Push Dusted, but we can confirm that. So.
Yeah, we can confirm.
I mean, it was me and Nerbion who came up with him, so...
Yeah.
Although
I apologize to
Nerbion. So
I apologize to Nerbion today on Twitter because I'm wearing... He sent out the designs for the shirts, the one that I'm wearing, but he had very specific criteria on how you were to have them made. And I think the colors on my Source-kun are off, and he's
I
always
was going to say that your shirt looked very strange in its color layout because I think I have the correct I have the correct red version of that shirt.
I had to get it. I was on my way to E3 and I had to get it made quickly because I had one that was ordered, but it wasn't gonna get here on time from an actual place that presses shirts, so I had to like go to a place in the mall and be like, iron this on.
Here's another delightfully relevant question. What they should do, asked, regarding getting game reviews out by a certain time, what is Source Gaming's policy on review deadlines? I never got the vibe that certain reviews needed to be done under crunch, but certain publishers have harsh deadlines to follow.
No, I feel like most publishers don't. The reason that you want to get it out quickly, we've never had a publisher, including Nintendo, including Capcom, ever tell us you have to get a review out this point. But what happens is if you don't, there's two things. One, if you don't get it out within a day or two of release, you're not going to get the same engagement on your videos, and that's why you do it. You put video.
The only pressure that I've only ever gotten was from smaller indie devs, which makes sense because they want to get as much press as possible.
Yeah. Right.
And usually that ends up with like them emailing me like, hey, like when is said thing done? And then I go like, yeah, in a couple days, just been busy, sorry, man. But, which sad day. But yeah, like Nintendo has never like followed up on us or anything.
And the other thing is that
I think it's just because we're such a smaller outlet. That they don't feel like they have to pressure us. Like they really at that point can just be like, yeah, they can just do fucking whatever.
Yeah.
as a general rule, we try to get our staffers to get their reviews out within a few days of release, because if not,
Actually, the reason why Nintendo has no expectations about it is because they give us the reviews on the fucking day of release.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So this is the policy that we've got for it. If we get a review before the embargo date, we'll try and aim to get that date within reasonable time. I mean, if we get it the day before, I'm not expecting people to suddenly rush through the game through crunch. But I aim to get it around. If we get the game after embargo or after the game has been released, then
it's fair game. Just do it whenever.
It's fair game. Just like get it done when you can get it done. Just try not to leave it half a year, but like get it.
I have right now a review that I need to do. I'll get it out this week. I promise. Now it's not on record for Switch. For the fitness boxing, but we got it like a week after the game came out, and it's a fitness game, and I'm all like, I'll do it when I can have time to actually do fitness.
That was actually like a big thing
Yeah.
with Nintendo in like 2019 giving us review codes for games that are like 30, 40, 50 hours long, and they would like, and even though these games would release on a Friday, they would give it to us on like Monday.
Yeah,
But see,
So
that leads to the second issue, which is
Yeah.
why I think sometimes this crunch exists. The fact that a lot of companies are a little stingy, especially if you don't have a super high engagement on these review codes. So a lot of times you'll want to get a game review out as quickly as possible so that the Nintendo or whomever will see that you got it out and it'll look good, so you can build a better relationship with them so you get more codes. So that's the other thing. There's literally nothing I have ever seen in anything that I've gotten, and there might be for some games saying that you need to get a review out by this time. But if you don't get a review out by that time, well, you might not get another review code. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It really is not great when that happens. It's not fun. But yeah, like ultimately, we are a smaller outlet, and I would at least like to say that our reviews are a bit more are a bit more kind of nuanced than most reviews tend to be. Not to toot our own horn, except I'm absolutely doing that. So yeah, I think it's a situation where there's never really a rush unless there actually is like. Unless it is a situation where they do give us I've said this I think before. Rebellion is very good. They've always given me a review code for whatever game like 3 weeks before release, and then the embargo is like naturally the day of. So they give you like plenty of time to get what you need to done, which I think is how it should be.
Yeah, Jax, I think you've done more of our bigger RPG games. What was the longest it's taken you to do a review? Like Xenoblade 2. How long did that take you?
I want to say Xenoblade 2 took me like a month or so. Like I think we got Xenoblade 2 at the like the day it came out. And then I think if we look on the YouTube channel, I got the review out at the end of December. So, because it came out at the beginning of December. So I think it's just under a month. But I've taken much longer with some reviews than I have with that one. Although that's mainly with due to the nature of them. Like one of the Labo kits, I took a lot longer. Because actually finding the time to sit down and spend 10 hours building a Labo kit.
Yeah. I think the word for me with reviews was when the Switch first came out. I don't know if it's because we didn't have that many staff members with Switches or what exactly happened, but I had so many reviews all at once when it came out. I had Super Bomberman R, I had Fast RMX Racing, I had Blaster Master Zero. Like I had like a ton of games, and all I wanted to do was play Breath of the Wild, but I couldn't at all play Breath of the Wild because I had to play all of these other games to get these reviews out. Like,
yeah, I think you're one of the only people on staff who managed to get a Switch on day. Like I was a week late to getting it from launch to launch, and I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to get one. I just happened to find a shop that got some in, so. I think that was the reason. It was you and like one or two other people.
Yeah, and it was rough, man. It was like I'm like, man, why am I even doing this? Like that happens too with reviews. Is that all of us have other obligations. Some of us are students, but I think a lot of us also just have full-time jobs. Mm-hmm. And you play video games as a release and an outlet to have fun, but you can't do that when you're reviewing games. It's like you just have to like turbo through a game. Like even though we do take our time and there's no crunch, it's still it's not fun sometimes because it's like, man, I don't know. I'd rather just like right now, I'd rather just like I was talking about playing Hades. I'd rather just do a couple more runs of Hades, but I have some other things I'm working on here. I'm like, well, I have to play this game and I have to play that game, and it's not that those games aren't fun. But it's different playing a game for an obligation as opposed to just playing a video game.
Yeah, and it's especially when you're making a video review, because then you need to think of stuff like recording footage, which means you might only be able to play the game while you're limited. Trying to keep an idea of what footage you want at what time to show stuff up, and then it takes longer to record audio and edit and release a video than it does to just write down your notes.
And then there's the topic that no one ever wants to bring up because it's a little skeevy. But if you, how much of the game do you actually play before you review it?
Yeah,
because there are certain instances. Sucks to say, there are certain instances where if a game is going on a little too long, and you really do feel like nothing in your review is going to change. When bringing up, maybe like the latter third of the game or something, like it is something that I have done. Like the Doom 64 review, like I didn't play all of Doom 64 for Switch when I reviewed it because I've played Doom 64 before, and that review was more from the standpoint of how it was as a port. So by the the middle point of playing Doom 64 for like the third time and having already played like the new bonus missions, I was just basically like, unless this game has like some crazy game-breaking crash like in the last third, like there's no way like my review is going to change in any way, shape, or form. Like everything.
Yeah, and here's another thing that I think I know I've done, and I'd imagine other reviewers do it too, is so in order to get a game done faster, I will sometimes play it on the easiest difficulty level just because I know I have to get it done. But that doesn't give me a very good gameplay experience compared to what I would normally play it at.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
My status on completing a game is that you don't need to do it. You obviously need to play enough of the game that you think you have an understanding of it. But say a game is bad, right? You wouldn't want to keep playing it to the end on the possibility that maybe it gets good in the last act. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm not having fun with a game and I want to stop playing it, that's my review. Like this game.
People are like, well, it takes 60 hours for the game to get good. I'm like, if I've played 30 hours of a game and I don't want to play it, that's what do you want?
It could have the best ending possible. It could have the greatest final act of any video game. But the devs cocked it all up by making me not want to get to that point. And that's the review. It's not worth it unless you're really desperate to see the ending of the game.
I try to play most games. I said play some on easy. I try to play them at least on normal. And if it's a story-focused game, then of course, if it's an RPG, of course I'm going to at least beat the main campaign, at least beat the main story mode. But I'm not going to like if I were reviewing, and that's the hard thing. Like, let's say I had to review Dragon's Quest XI, which none of us on staff did. Am I going to be doing all of the post-game content too? Do I need to play 100 hours in order to get a competent review? Like, game reviews are weird because it's not like a movie. You can sit down and watch a movie and everyone will be absorbing the same content, but because games are an interactive medium, everyone's going to play games differently. So there's different things and different parts of games that people enjoy. Some people are completionists. Some people are trophy hunters. Some people play games mostly for the multiplayer. So how are you supposed to review?
It really makes reviews really different too. Like there can be a lot of different reviews for the same game. I remember my first review was what is it? Little Town Hero, was that the name of that game? The one from Game Freak? And I thought that game had a lot of really interesting concepts, and it was it had some flaws that really made it like slow down in terms of like the frame rate would slow down if you had too much stuff on the screen. But like I didn't think that's not something to me that like ruins the game. It's a game that's turn-based, and like it doesn't really matter if there are a bunch of things on the screen. Like it's not affecting the gameplay for me, but like to a lot of other people that like makes the game suck for them. And like I reviewed that game, like I mean I didn't give it a great score. I gave it like it's like the gameplay in the battles were pretty much made it worth playing, but it's not like amazing. And most other people, like I think Game Explain gave it like a super like didn't like it score or something like that. I don't remember, but like other places also did the same thing, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize like how different people are reviewing this game and how different reviews can go until like I did that one and was like, oh, so this is how the review process goes.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun playing Wolfenstein Youngblood, and then knowing that I was like the only person who liked it. Moving on. I'm going to be skipping around a bit more because we have a lot of like nuanced questions. Which I'm sorry if you submitted like a meme question, like do you guys like red Skittles, and we don't get to it because it's a meme question. yes. By the way, but yeah, it's like a meme question, and it's like we're not, there's like people ask really cool, interesting questions, and we want to get to them. Sorry, fellas, but let's see. I actually had one that's very good. Cody would enjoy this one from Jordan Johnson. Those of you who do the translation, have any tips or words of advice for learners of Japanese?
Okay, yeah, I can answer that. So if you aren't, I mean, I guess it depends. So if you're enrolled in like a school already, take their Japanese classes. Don't just try and learn it all yourself. Take the classes; they will help. It's usually better to learn in an academic setting, just because you'll have help from a professor there, and that will just help build your skills overall. I think the one thing you should focus on when you're starting to learn the language is making sure you know the entire. Well, Japanese is made up of like 3 different kinds of character sets. There's hiragana, katakana, and kanji. So hiragana is definitely the first one you want to learn the best, and because that's the one that all the others are. You're gonna see hiragana probably not the most. I guess kanji would probably be the most, but hiragana is the one that will create the foundations for the other 2. So you want to learn that one first. Make sure you learn it very well. Memorize everything. Katakana will be difficult after that, but the way I learned it at least was doing a lot of memorization with like flashcards when I first started out. And with kanji, those are pretty difficult, but using, like I said, those memorization techniques with flashcards, or there are a lot of apps out there that will help with kanji memorization too. So you could use those things to help with the memorization of kanji. But start out learning hiragana and then work your way up. And I suggest if you're not already in school and you're not forced to get this book, get the Genki 1 book, which is a beginner's guide to learning Japanese characters, Japanese vocabulary, and Japanese grammar. So start out with that and work your way up. That's basically the lowdown on that.
Nice. Here's another cool, nuanced question asked by No Name. With the 3DS turning 10 this year, how long do you think its eShop has left? The recent DSiWare scare had me and some friends thinking it could be gone sooner than later, before they actually put the DSiWare. It was like a little small tangent. I don't really care. Yeah. How long do you guys think the 3DS eShop has left?
As long as they're still selling 3DS games, it's still going to be up. They're obviously not making any new ones, but you can still go into many game shops and find new 3DS games. It's not like the DS where they're basically all used. Yeah, and new consoles. It's still there, it's still selling. Because unlike, say, the DS to the 3DS, the Switch isn't just an outright replacement for it. And therefore, it's having a longer shelf life, technically, than any of the other past handheld devices. But that said, I do think within like the next decade, probably more towards the end of it, they will start phase it out.
At the soonest, probably when the Switch 2 releases. Then at the latest, I would say like 2030.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Which would give it like 20 years.
Yeah, I'd give it 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and the thing is, I feel like a lot of people really forget with the Wii Shop that like the reason why they shut that down is because no one was fucking using it. Like, and it was just a matter of, Nintendo has to essentially make server space for a new console. And at that point, like, a lot of those games were bound to get probably delisted with time anyway due to licensing.
I'd be more worried about the Wii U. That's still...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The Wii U has... the Wii definitely had more content overall. It had more games. But I think the Wii U overall has my favorite virtual console that Nintendo's ever done, especially because of the DS stuff on there.
Yeah, there's a lot there for the virtual console. Even if the emulators aren't as great as other ones, but there's just so much of it there that kind of balances it out.
Yeah, I think the Wii U is
I
worth
still,
purchase, to be honest.
I know it's not a great thing to endorse. But honestly, if you are at this point in regards to something like the Wii U, and especially the Wii, and even the 3DS, if you really do feel like the inevitable is happening, I mean, just download what you want, and then just alternative means, because at this point those consoles are dead. Like, they're not making any more of them. They probably won't do any more software updates. It's
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of the it's I guess it's kind of rough, because I know people who who do these big like, I care about preservation. I spent $50 on Scott Pilgrim. I know we all love to goad our physical copies, but
they will die.
Ultimately, the best preservation really is just like downloading shit. It's like, it's like, it just works.
I remember having a long conversation with you, Colin, on why streaming games are bad but digital games are not, and I agree with you. Because the thing is, if we do a streaming only version of a game like Control on Switch, I personally don't mind that much, because I feel like it's just a slightly modified version of the PC game. But I understand what you're saying, especially if there was a game where it was just streaming and that was the only way we got this game.
Yeah.
No one will ever have that code, so there's no way to preserve it. If you can download a game, if you can download Scott Pilgrim, then we have that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, someone will be able to.
A big thing with the Wii Shop is when that thing was shutting down, I had plenty of games that I bought on the Wii Shop, but also, like, you could already download the entirety of the Wii Shop in like a convenient folder, for years. Like, for years before the Wii Shop was even close to closing down.
We're not advocating for piracy, but I think there's a difference between preservation, especially of games that, there's especially licensed games from years ago that they probably won't ever get a re-release, and at some point these cartridges and these CDs and everything will degenerate and die. They just
my stance has always been enjoy the console as it is. But when it gets to the point where, like, there is no more support, there is no more, like, they're going to stop printing they're going to stop manufacturing the consoles, they're going to stop making, like, memory cards, they're going to stop, producing accessories and more importantly, physical copies, is don't buy into the, oh shit, I gotta pay $60 for a physical copy of Persona 4 Golden. No, just, like, at that point, that console is essentially abandonware, and it's like they left it for dead.
Atlas is getting the same amount of money from a secondhand purchase that you do that they are from you getting it from somewhere else. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
You're not supporting the publisher anymore, because they're not, and that's the thing. Like, I got a review copy actually on Steam for the Disney Afternoon collection. And then I went ahead and I bought it again on Xbox because I wanted to support it. I will support games when they are re-released, because I like to support developers, and I like to have these games in a more convenient format. But it's not possible sometimes.
Yeah,
I said I own Super Metroid, like Wii U. I don't really own it, but I have it on Switch Online. I have it on my SNES. I have my cartridge. So at least I own that at least 5 times. No, I actually own 2 cartridges because I have my regular cartridge and I have a sealed one that I picked up along the way. So, forgive me if I don't feel bad playing it other ways.
The fact of the matter is that by the time these things happen, like these nightmare scenarios where like, haha, like your digital games are no more, obtaining them in other illegitimate ways will be so simplistic and just like a non-issue that it's gonna be like, well, I don't know, man, like. When I was in high school, Cody, you can agree with me on this. I don't think big boy Nintendo is going to give a shit. I don't think there is a single person who played Earthbound legitimately.
I first played Earthbound, like, well, I tried playing it on like an emulator and didn't end up like being able to. And
if you
Mother
were
3, obviously nobody can really play that in English on anything that's like unofficial software.
Yeah. I mean,
you ever think about that?
You want to bring it up with me because we didn't even get Earthbound or Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6 or Mario RPG or Chrono Trigger. Like, all of these games, except for Mario RPG, which I actually did wait till the Wii Virtual Console to play, I had to play via emulator because I literally didn't have a choice. Like, even if I got a physical cartridge, it wouldn't work.
Do you guys ever think about how actually like kind of crazy it is that like Earthbound is this like mainstay of Nintendo franchises, but like you could argue that the grand majority of people who have played it just is like, it's like a completely illegitimate way of playing it. Like, you know what I mean?
It's that Smash Brothers presence. That's all it is. If Earthbound never got content in Smash, it would be remembered slightly more fondly than Golden Sun is. But it would
there's like a statistic somewhere that like like Mario Galaxy 2 is like the most pirated video game of all time. Mm-hmm. But that like there has to be like a like so you know how like not Avatar anymore, but you know how Avengers Endgame is like the highest grossing film of all time. But theoretically, like technically, Rocky Horror Picture Show has never ended its theatrical run. Like so from 1975 to this day, like when you go see, because they have to license the movie to show it in the theater for a shadowcast.
Is Disney letting people do that still?
Yes. It makes the thing is, it makes too much money for them to not do that. And that's the crazy thing. Theoretically, if they actually published numbers, I would not be surprised if Rocky Horror Picture Show is actually the highest grossing film of all time. But there's just no numbers to support that. And I wonder if Mother 3 is in that same camp, where it's like, it actually is, there's just no like torrent or anything to really back that up.
Yeah. It's funny because Earthbound is like, I remember the game coming out in Nintendo Power, and I was so into JRPGs at the time, and I thought it was such a cool game, and like nobody agreed with me. I own a cart that I had when the game was new, and it's funny because originally I just rented it from Blockbuster like maybe 3 times in a row, and I beat it. And I'm like, okay, I don't need to own this game. I beat it. I like it. It's fine. But then a couple years later, I was at Best Buy, and there was an end cap that was just copies of Earthbound being sold for $20.
Yeah,
and I almost picked 2 of them up, and that would have been a better solution, a better end result than just the one. But I mean, hey, I still have a copy of Earthbound. I'm not going to complain.
But yeah, I've always questioned that. I've always questioned, like, I do actually wonder the reach that that like Earthbound and Mother 3 have gotten through other means. Because I mean, when I was in high school, if you wanted to play Earthbound, you just talked to the one Earthbound fan, and he's like, yeah, let me get you a flash drive. Like it just like it was out of, you know.
I actually throughout all of high school carried Earthbound and Mother 3 on a flash drive.
Yeah, I did this
in my backpack. And when anybody asked about the games, I was like, "You want to play them?"
Yeah, that's
You want to play
Yeah.
some Earthbound, kids?
that was me with Doom. I had like a little flash drive with Z Doom and all the iWads on it.
I need
Picturing
to find,
Cody
I
now
need to
with,
find
like,
my flash cart of Mother 3 somewhere.
I feel like I'm picturing Cody with like a trench coat on. He's like, "Hey, kid, I hear you like retro JRPGs. You want to come over here?"
I had like a
Jacket line
flash,
with like,
I had a flash drive that looked like Ness. Like the ending of Earthbound has Ness turn into like a robot thing
Yeah.
for reasons if you play the game. And I actually have a USB that looks like that. That's what I kept them all on.
Yeah.
was you know what? Just kind of speaking of it, I feel like retro. I'm a retro gamer because I play retro games. Because much like most retro gamers, I'm old. But like, there's this reverence towards the hardware that I do not understand. Like, because I follow so many like retro gamers on Twitter, and they're all like, "Oh my god, somebody turned a Sega Genesis into a lamp." I'm like, that's fine, man. I mean, I wouldn't do that to a Sega Genesis. It looks bad, but like, it's not like it's a holy artifact. And they're like, "There's only so many of them." I'm like, "There's plenty of them, and there's better ways to play that." There's better software now. There is. Even if you have the original cart, there's better machines than an original Genesis to play them on. I'm sorry, it's not like an untouchable thing.
Yeah, it's just the authenticity of it. That's it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And even things like, and once again, I'm not advocating going out and buying reproduction cards. I'm not. I think you should always play things as legitimately as possible. Yeah. But like when there's people that like look down on that, not because it's a form of piracy, but just because it's not the real thing. I'm like, it's literally the same thing. It literally is. There's this retro cart of Earthbound and this actual cart. There is no difference between the data on them at all. It's literally going to be the same game. But for some reason, like, and like I said, but you're fine with playing an emulator or whatever. So you're not upset at it because you're pirating. You're upset at it because it's not real to you, and it's ridiculous.
I have a little bit of mini beef with a certain website that I will not name because they are a website that loves to just stir drama whenever anyone disagrees with their stupid fat owner. But man. It's just one of those things where there is absolutely positively like a weird condescension and like gatekeeping to playing older games. When I mean, like for 20 fucking years, like NES games, SNES games, Genesis, any 8-bit system has been like able to be perfectly played on a fucking first generation iPhone.
Yeah.
And
if your whole thing, and I understand that, is that I'm a collector and I like to get, authentic things for a collection because that's my hobby. That's a little different, but it goes beyond that. And sometimes I get this condescension, and then I have to explain to people, I'm like, I'm older than you. I was playing these games legitimately. Do you want to see my NES collection that I've had for 35 years? Like, don't like talk to me about this, kid. Like, I don't know.
Retro collecting is like depressing, and I even though I am that guy with the shelf of video games, I will one of these days I will stop being lazy and sell off most of it and just get like an EverDrive and call it a day.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like if your actual purpose really is that I like to collect things and like that's a hobby, that's fine. That's like collecting stamps or pins, it's collecting whatever. I like to have the actual thing and I like to display them. That's fine. But like you said, the condescension goes beyond that. It's about playing it a certain way and getting an authentic experience. Although
one of the things I really wanted to bring up, like one of the reasons I was like shit talking this website that I will not name is because they have this like hardcore hate boner for like cheaper cables and video processor units for like older video game consoles, because it's like, you can get like better image out of like a video game console using like, obscure wire formats like RGB SCART, but some people don't want to put down like the 200 plus for like an OSSC or like a XRGB FrameMeister. So some people just buy like the $30 Chinese made one that in all honesty works perfectly fucking fine.
Yeah.
It looks perfectly fucking fine. It plays back perfectly fucking fine. It may have like 4 frames of input lag, but who gives a shit? You're trying to play an old game on an OLED anyway. Who fucking cares? And it's like, and it's like these people are like, oh, you're, like it's they act like you have motion smoothing on while watching a movie, and it's like, no, it's still the same fucking thing. Like,
so like, I like grew up with the GameCube. I'm pretty young, so like I grew up with all that stuff. The only reason I ended up getting older stuff is like because I found it at a flea market, and I was like, oh, I want to try some old games. Why not? And they had the games right there, so I was like, yeah, sure. And I ended up getting I only ended up getting a Famicom because I realized that Takeshi's Challenge uses the microphone, and there are no emulators that use the microphone. Nice. Like there's no emulator for the Famicom that lets you use an actual microphone as the microphone input. You have to press a button. So I was like, oh, I really want to scream into the microphone while I play Takeshi's Challenge because there's an actual like part where you have to do that. So I was like, I could get that, and I could get some other games to use on the disc system because why not?
Yeah, and there's something to playing games on not as much. I mean, the original hardware is part of it, but more than that, the original controller. And there's a certain feel for that, or something that's very close. Yeah. And I don't want to disparage retro gaming as a hobby. It's just very particular people, and there's a gatekeeping mindset to it that I don't like.
I've been to too many games 2 times, and it depressed me both times because everyone there is just like, I'm here to buy the cool deals. It's all about the haul, and I'm like, you guys don't actually give a flying fuck about video games. You just care about having a shelf that looks cool and having a bunch of like stupid memorabilia. Like it's depressing, it's sad, and it's like I just at this point I do not want any part of it.
If it's your, I mean, if that's your hobby, then more power to you. But don't disparage others for playing games the way they want to play them.
Just let everybody play the games they want to play them.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. That is everything.
Because as much as people are going to be like, but if you don't use this proper scaler, like it won't render at like the proper 8:7 aspect ratio, and there's going to be color bleeding. No one gives a shit. No one fucking cares.
What if I want to play with the color bleeding?
Yeah,
I own the Sega Genesis collection on the Switch, and yeah, there's input lag. But you know what? I still have fun playing the games. Is it my preferred way to play the games? No.
Cody in chat says someone should remake High Fidelity, but make it about a retro game store instead of a vinyl shop. Honestly, that shit would be great because I think the pretense of like, I mean, as much as audiophiles are also the type of people to be like, no, you got to get isolated wires, man. Like, as much as those people are very similar, like there is something so. It's missing the gamer element, which makes everyone way much more of a pompous, like trash-talking piece of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like because there's always like that. There's just like that pressure to be Johnny Gamer, and it's tiring.
Let's just do it for real. You want to be the Jack Black to my John Cusack, Colin?
I want to be John Cusack.
We can rock, paper, scissors over it.
All right, badass.
I will. You know what? I'm inspired to write a screenplay now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do it. Let's go.
Oh man. Anyway, that's
full feature.
There's the end of our most controversial segment of this podcast.
That was a.
That's going to be the one that. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I don't feel bad about it because the majority of people listening to this will skip it and just want us to talk about Smash.
But what do you want? What are your last 3 most wanted for the past? I don't know. We'll spit something out at the end.
You know what? It's actually really funny. We have a Smash question right now.
Yeah.
Smash Ultimate question by No Name. there was someone who went into the code of Ultimate and found 14 extra slots for potential DLC. The stage list has also added enough space to fill up 4 extra slots after the second Fighter's Pass is over. Do you think this will lead into... No. Hold
on, let Cody.
Me and Push talked about this. Yes, me and Push talked about this already. There is a video on our channel about this. I will get the link and send it in the chat.
Yeah.
1 second. But yeah, that basically, they're basically just like, they were added a while ago. They weren't just for this pass, and it was basically probably just in case they made more. It wasn't. I mean, there's always the chance they could add more, but all of them are just extra space. They're not going to fill up every single spot. They're dummy spaces. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say this, that logistically, and logistically and logically, as Nantenjix was saying, we do think that if there is another pass, which I will say it's a possibility, I highly doubt it, but I'm not discounting it. We do think it would probably be a little bit smaller. Getting an extra 4 players would probably be just the right amount, and would also round our DLC excluding Piranha Plant to 15, which is a great number. So I think if we do get another pass, it would be just to fill those 4 slots. But I don't think it means in any way that we will get another pass.
Yeah. Exactly.
Lewis asks, what game developers do you admire, respect, and for what reasons, such as their creative direction or philosophy when making games? Honestly, I respect any game developer who predominantly puts their name on a project, because I do think auteur theory is alive and well. And I love, even if it doesn't work out, even if you're David Cage and a dummy, I do highly appreciate the love of the craft and the ambition and the vision.
I like the certain studios, and not talking about individual devs, but studios just have a certain amount of polish to them in their games. I feel like Blizzard used to be that and then fell off a cliff. I feel like from 10 plus years ago was one of those studios. I feel like Nintendo's first party still has that. Like, there's just a certain amount of polish and feel to their games. You know what I mean? That other studios just don't have.
I give a lot of... I know Kojima is a bit of a meme to a lot of people, but bless his soul, he is living the dream. He is making the video games that he wants to make. He has a vision. He has a goal. He has a lot of things in mind, and like bless him. You know.
Yeah, he's great. I think. I'm sorry. I was finding the link to the video. Was the question about directors?
Yeah, it's about game developers you admire / respect, and for what reasons?
Well, absolutely, I've got to say Sakurai. I mean, maybe that's the low-hanging fruit, but like he has some very, very insightful comments and experience about game development and what you should be trying to do in a game and why you should be trying to do those things, what the best ways to go about them are. I think a lot of his experience has been super helpful in progressing the way games have been made lately, and I really like the styles of games that he ends up making. So he's great. Bless him too.
So I guess for me, I don't know. I'm assuming this counts, but I wanted to mention Pixel, or Daisuke Amaya. Is that his full name? The guy who made Cave Story.
Oh, yeah. That's the one, yeah.
So, like, he's obviously... Cave Story is the biggest thing he's known for, and he's obviously... it's kind of been usurped and conquered by Nicalis, unfortunately.
Right.
But I've always sort of been inspired by him And the fact, like, before becoming an indie was more common, and there were lots of engines out there. Cave Story was the go-to game, the like symbol of the single author making everything from the ground up just to make a game that he wanted to make. Like, and clearly just done for because he wanted to do it, releasing it for free online. After putting however many years it was, like 3 or 4 years into making it. I always find his story in particular to be an admirable one, personally.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah, so that's my choice.
Nice.
Very cool. Very epic. But yeah, definitely developers like just anyone who has like their name like front and center attached to something. A Toby Fox, Kojima, David Cage, Suda, Swery. Bless the fuck up. You go, sisters. Like you fucking live that dream. Let's see. What games? Oh, Nick Droid asks, what games, if any, have you made you cry and why?
Oh, I have one that I just played that actually did this. Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Nice.
I didn't think that would really get me, but like at the end I was like, "Oh my god, it's so sad."
I think it's amazing. Like, I think that the funny thing about those Yakuza games is that like at their core, they are like really well written, like serious stories.
They are. I wasn't expecting
but the game sells you on the literal like 100 hours of goofy bullshit you can do.
I know. Yeah,
outside.
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah, like
I was expecting more goofy stuff, but it really got to me with its story and its writing.
I think the main reason why Yakuza has gotten such a bump is because of that. Because I've seen so many people just buy like Yakuza 0 for like $5, and the game sucks you in by being like a really like, oh shit, this is like a really interesting like, you know, gangster, Japanese gangster, and then you're like bowling for a chicken. And then like you go on Twitter and everyone's like, yeah, dude, you gotta save the Michael Jackson lookalike, whatever his fucking, I forgot what his name, wasn't it like Jordan Jackson or something?
I don't know. I've only played Like a Dragon all the way through.
But yeah, like that's how they get you. Like that is how they get you. Those Yakuza games do not fuck around at all.
Yeah, I tried out 0 and I was like, I really enjoy this, but the only thing the only thing I didn't like about it was actually like the beat 'em up style gameplay, because like that kind of style just gets boring to me. It's just like I feel like I'm just mashing buttons. So like when Like a Dragon was announced and it was an RPG system, like, oh yeah, I'm going all in with this. This looks great. So that game really pulled me in, and I liked it a lot. I cried at the end.
I think for me, I don't think a game has ever really made me cry, but definitely well up. And it is stupid to say this, but Half-Life Alyx, just because if you know,
that's great.
You know, because it's just like it's 13 years, you know? Like,
yeah.
13 years.
It's been so long.
And they end it in a way that maybe
awesome way.
You know, it doesn't.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, it doesn't pick up. It doesn't continue where you last off. But it's like a weird like don't worry, Bubala. Like everything is gonna be okay. Like we're back in business, and it's like, ooh,
that was great.
Ooh. I do not blame Tyler McVicker for crying on stream. He deserved that shit. That is when you watch Tyler McVicker cry at the end of Half-Life Alyx, at the end of his stream playing through it, like you can tell like there was just so much going through that boy, and like just between like being. By the way, good on him for the rebrand. Like shout out to Tyler McVicker. Please come on to Good Morning Source Gaming. But like good on him for like finally being like justified and getting what he's wanted for like 13 years. And he's living it, man. He's living it.
I'm hoping there's more.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
that'd be really fucking weird if there isn't more.
Yeah, it comes back for the brief and then leaves.
Yeah.
So for me, mine's I guess going to be a bit silly. I don't know if you want to call it that. I reckon I'm the only one of the few people who did. But both Xenoblade Chronicles games, not X, but the two main ones, have made me cry at one point in both of them. And in the first one, it was right at the end, the very end. And I think that was more like a satisfactory cry, I think, with how cool that ending is and the music and all of that. But in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I think I actually welled up when Van Damme dies. Like... very early on in the game, which is I feel like I'm the only person who did this, because a lot of people I've spoken to after it saw it coming and thought it was super obvious he was gonna die, and it is very cliche, but I didn't see it coming, and I really liked Van Damme as a character, and I think the whole setting and the way that whole scene goes together with the music and him getting a cool badass moment in there and giving the big pep talk. I don't know, that got to me. That's the first one that comes to my mind.
Oh, I noticed the question was what games, if any, not like the last game.
Yeah.
Also, actually, you know what? Then I have a better answer. The ending of Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater or Substance or whatever version of Snake Eater you play. Because if you know, you know, because that is probably one of the most powerful endings to a video game. Really makes you think, really activates those almonds.
I can't recall a time a game has made me cry. I mean, normally this is a part of the podcast where I try to make fun of The Last of Us, but I'm going to skip that this week.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I feel like it's got to be some of the...
You cry during The Last of Us because the cutscenes keep fucking going.
Just
let me get to the video game, Christ.
I feel like there's definitely some point and click games that are story driven. I think some of the Telltale games there's been moments, but I don't know. And I'm not somebody who's just like, I don't cry. Like television and film makes me cry. But I can't recall, like, even something I'm like, oh, when Aerith died in Final Fantasy. Like, I don't know. Like, I think games maybe just don't hit me emotionally the same way. I'd have to really think about it. I can't, like I said, for whatever reason, I can't really recall a moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, Mother 3 made me so sad. I'm like, not in that way, not in a way
I feel like games have made me more reflect than really like have like an outright emotion. Like Fallout 3 is a game that I got really into when it came out, just because like, I know people are gonna be like, that's not New Vegas, but 3 has such a like, even though its story isn't like Fallout lore perfect, it's like from just a basic plot standpoint, it's a very like heavy, like emotional, like personal story about just like, yeah, dude, like your mom dies, your dad fucking leaves, and you gotta deal with the wasteland all on your own and shit like that. And like, that's not, I wasn't like, whew, really, that really takes me back, but it really makes you think. Almost like it's it really,
that was
like,
a real thinker.
Your character is put into such a precarious situation that you really do have to you do kind of wonder about like how you would be in this situation, and that's like that is a role-playing game at that point, because it really is kind of poking at your inner psyche, as opposed to just like, man, what would Cloud do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Games are processed in a slightly different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, and I'm sure there's been instances I just for whatever reason can't remember one. I don't know.
All right, so shall we do just 2 more questions?
Yes.
As we're coming up, there were 2 I think we should end on. You see the 2 I'm highlighting here. That one, this one first.
Well, I'm not seeing the highlight on my end. So just do it.
Do you think there should be a sequel or reimagining of PlayStation All Stars? And if so, what mechanical changes would you add and characters you'd like to see? And this is what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
This is what I want to talk about because it's always a big recurring thing, but mainly because recently, and I think, Spazzy, you saw this. In fact, it might have been your retweet that I then replied to. Someone did someone did a Smash 6. What if a parallel universe where Sony made Smash Brothers and it was their version? Here's the Smash 64 equivalent roster, and there was a single Sony character on that roster.
Yeah, it was just Sweet Tooth.
Just Sweet Tooth. Nobody else. It was all the Cloud and Lara Croft and all of these actual non-Sony characters that. Yeah,
Crash and Spyro were a little at the time. They were
Crash and Spyro. I could deal with because they were vaguely enough first party that I think they would both be included in in one.
Lara Croft was on there, I think.
Yeah, Lara Croft was on there. Cloud was on there. Heihachi and Jin from Tekken were both on there.
Well, it had to have been Kazuya, not Jin. If it was,
well, maybe it was Kazuya. I'm trying to see if I can find it now.
Because I think they said that this was because I brought up Parappa, or somebody brought up Parappa, and they said, well, this was if it came out in 96 or 97, and Parappa was 98. And I'm all I don't know, man. You literally just have Sweet Tooth.
Yeah. Sweet Tooth is literally your first year up. And I'm pretty sure some of them games weren't out in 1996 either. So it still doesn't work. But, I wanted to bring this up. Yeah, I found it now. So what they had was they had Crash and Coco, Jin. They had Jin and Heihachi, even though it should be Kazuya. They had Cloud, Lara, Abe, Rayman, Spyro, Sweet Tooth, Alucard, and Paizo, who I don't know who that is. It's the only character I didn't know. But I always find this really weird because Sony does have enough first parties even back then that you could make a Sony fighting game with just their characters.
They own Qbert. Yeah. I always say they own Qbert, so Qbert should be in the next.
but
Sony the Sony video game department. What is it? Sony? Is that Sony?
Isn't it
Computer?
Sony Computer Entertainment, or have they split it up into Japan Studio now and stuff?
There's different parts, but it's actually the Sony Pictures that oddly enough owns Qbert by a series of acquisition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I'd be all for a reimagining of PlayStation All Stars. And here is the way I would go about it. Mechanical changes, I totally understand wanting to differentiate yourself from Smash Brothers, and I still think that should be what you do, but I would cut out the whole you have to kill people with a final smash nonsense.
That was
the core
not
mechanics
great.
have to be the same. I've argued exactly this, is that when Street Fighter became the really big game in the 90s, the other companies added their own spin, and the games felt different because they were mechanically different. Mortal Kombat separated itself because A, the blood and the digitized graphics, but B, also it was very juggle heavy and just felt different. But you know what? It still had health bars. It was still a 1v1 fighter. It was still best 2 out of 3 rounds. And it's not a clone. It's just Smash created essentially a new genre. So follow the genre tropes and move from there. Right. Too many of these games, I feel like the reason almost every platform fighter fails is because A, it's either exactly Smash but worse, which you don't want to be, or it tries to change too many of the core things to be different. The Konami one, what was it called? Mega Dream Mix, whatever.
Yeah, that one is not really a fight. Well, I mean, Smash is a party game technically, but that one's a much bigger emphasis on the party aspect. It's basically just coin battle.
Or PlayStation Battle Royale also does something. If you want to make a platform fighter, ring outs, percentage based damage.
Yeah.
And that's it. That should be your core, and that should be the core of it. And special moves and tied to one button and directions, and then other moves for other buttons.
Yeah, So the way I think I would do it with it mechanically is you've got the 4 buttons. So Smash obviously has just standard attacks and special attacks, and I think that's fine. But I think you could do have light attacks and heavy attacks be its own thing. So the way PlayStation All Stars does it is it basically has 3 or 4 sets of like special attacks and directional stuff, and it just doesn't feel cohesive. So I would trim that down to just having one special attack button that does all the weird stuff, but then have the Smash does light and heavy attacks through regular and Smash attacks. I would have them be 2 separate buttons, like a more traditional fighting game, and really go into that aspect of it. Because Smash is intended to be simple and more of a party game, so I feel like the best way of going about it is to instead actually try and make a fighting game that
I think doing that and also adding things like other traditional fighting games have, like different inputs to do extra attacks. You'll have the standard Smash attacks, but sort of like how Terry, Ryu, and Ken have like stronger versions of their attacks, you just have other moves that you could do with inputs.
Yeah.
So Pfizer, by the way, I just looked it up because I also didn't know. It would be the Captain Falcon equivalent. It's from Wipeout, which also they don't know. It's still a third party.
Yeah, so there's just that whole roster thing. So on terms of the roster itself, I feel like the two big problems that PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale I think had is that it went too far into the third party stuff that didn't mean anything. Heihachi is fine. Dante was fine. What other third party characters are in that game?
BioShock. Big Daddy.
Big Daddy was the one I was waiting on. So Big Daddy doesn't make
Isaac
sense.
And Isaac from Dead Space.
Isaac from Dead Space, I could sort of see, but Big Daddy doesn't make any sense because it's like an Xbox. It was an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah,
exclusive.
The first game where everybody knows Big Daddy from was like an Xbox exclusive for I think almost 2 years. It was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would focus on in that is that there were only 2 series that had multiple characters from it in that game, and that was Infamous because they decided to have 2 versions of Cole, which is the big meme.
Oh yeah.
And then God of War, which added Zeus as a DLC character, but otherwise was like, Kratos. In the base game, it was only Kratos, and I feel like that's a big oversight. Because, PlayStation also had Raiden as well. I knew there was one more. Metal Gear Solid, yeah, sure, but it should really be Snake. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I think a big appeal of Smash is that it's not always the main characters you get to play as. Obviously, the very first game in the series had it, other than Luigi and Jigglypuff. But since that point on, people want to play as the villains, or they want to play as the side characters. Like, none of the most requested characters in Smash right now are main characters of their own game, unless you want to count Donkey Kong Country 3. So, like, I think I'm usually for let's get as many series in as we can, but I think for the first game in the series, it would have been nicer to have some other side characters. Like, you have Spike from Ape Escape, why not also have Spectre from Ape Escape? And you have Ratchet and Clank, but you could have had the superhero guy or whatever.
Listen, that game would have been saved if they added Jammer Lammy next to Parappa the Rapper. That's all I'm saying. I think overall, the first PlayStation All Stars actually did a good job on their first party, though.
They made Toro work somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have Kratos, you have Jack and Dexter, you have what's her name from Heavenly Sword.
Yeah, that was the best one because that was the one at the start. I was like, I wonder if they'll do it because it does make sense. But Heavenly Sword was not a popular game.
Yeah, you got Sir Daniel from Medieval.
Yeah, Sir Daniel and Spike and Parappa.
I would have loved more Twisted Metal characters because that series has has a lot of colorful and interesting characters. But I know it's not a big series anymore. But overall, their first party was good, and I'd imagine most of them would be brought over to a PlayStation All Stars 2. Yeah. With I would hate to see a character from Last of Us. It would play so boring. See, look, I got to. Aloy would probably be there from with Horizon Zero Dawn. Why couldn't I remember the name of that game?
Yeah, Aloy would be there. Ellie from Last of Us Part 2 would be there. Probably, although I'd prefer they use their Last of Us Part 1 version because I think it'd be more interesting.
Yeah, I would actually wonder about it because, like, I don't know, that does seem just kind of like a whatever character to me because there's so many characters that already use guns, and at least like Nathan Drake is like kind of silly, so he throws barrels and stuff.
Yeah,
not like, you know, all joking aside, they probably could make Ellie interesting, but like on the face of it, that's a character that you would have to include based off popularity, not based off of any sort of gameplay mechanic.
Yeah, unless you did Ellie and Joel together and it worked as like a co-op type thing, in which case maybe
like Last of Us
do. Yeah, Last of Us climbers. Yeah, I think you'd have to have the robot from Astrobot. That's it.
Oh yeah, Astrobot. I forgot.
Yeah, Astrobot's the big one. But do you play as the Astrobot or do you play as the actual big robot that you are in the VR game, and you control the Astrobot like Rosalina and Luma style?
I don't know. I think mechanically what you said is good. I think you just need the KO smash style KO mechanics. That's the biggest thing. After that, you can mix things up. They already have an extra button for combos and different types of attacks, and they don't have smash attacks. That's enough for it to be like a very unique take on the genre. I don't think, you know, people talk about making it like this weird doing something like a Power Stone, but then it's no longer PlayStation All Stars.
Yeah, it's a different game.
Right.
I think the last point, the last thing I would have to really push for a sequel to this is the art style. I think needs to be consistent. Like, Smash Brothers is really good at having all of its characters look coherent next to each other, despite the fluctuating art styles between Snake, who looks who should be fairly realistic looking, next to Ness, who's big Peanuts boy, basically. And like, it just works. Whereas Parappa the Rapper standing next to Nathan Drake or Cole just didn't look right. And the game
looked lifeless. It came out between Smash Ultimate and Brawl, so Smash it had higher fidelity than Brawl, but it didn't have. There's something about Smash where they add a lot of kinetic energy to all of the moves and everything, and it looks way more alive. This looked it just didn't look as good in motion.
No,
but
I think I like, and I understand it was like it was a fairly new team of people doing it who had come with an idea, and Sony clearly wanted to do it. But like, they spent so much time, I think, trying to make all the characters look like they do in their own games, with the exception of Spike from Ape Escape, because they just had to update his design. I think it looks really ugly, but they spent so long trying to make every character look like they're from their own games that everything clashed. And it looked really jarring. Yeah. Whereas they should have tried to spend more time making everything look consistent, while also still keeping the proportions and still making it very clear who the character is. If you had to make Nathan Drake and Cole and Kratos look slightly more cartoony in order to fit that, I think that's something that they should have done.
That's fine. You know what? Maybe I'll be in the minority here, but dancing memes aside, Kratos visually looks fine with the art style he has in Fortnite. You know what I'm saying? It's Kratos. That's fine.
Gonna have anime Nathan Drake in here.
Yeah, before we move on, very important question from the chat, and I think we're all thinking of this. Will they include Spider-Man if they do this?
I maybe as DLC.
I think they would.
Yeah, I think they would try to as DLC, yeah.
They probably wouldn't have the same kinds of rules that Sakurai has cultivated all of this time. Yeah, because he's been doing it for so long. They probably, if they were going to make another one, they would just do whatever's.
What will sell the most? How about Spider-Man?
What is it? Yeah, there'll be a what is it sells the most, but there's also be what's important to Sony. I think. Spider-Man and Spider-Man is right now. So, that might be one reason why they had so many third-party stuff in there, but also like, I feel like if they weren't going to be able to get Snake and they weren't going to be able to get PS2 Dante, then they shouldn't have bothered having Dante or Raiden in the game.
Yeah.
The third parties in the first game were very clearly based off of Sony going to companies and them being all like, we'll give you this thing to help advertise a game that's coming out.
Yeah.
Even Big Daddy was because Bioshock Infinite was coming out, and the stage was a Bioshock Infinite
the stage was a Bioshock Infinite stage. That is one thing I did like about PlayStation All-Stars. While it is cool to see locales from all of your favorite games, and I think the stage layout in PlayStation All-Stars was bad. I think the Jack and Daxter stage was like the only good stage other than the plane from Uncharted, but that's because it's a big meme plane. I think the combining of two PlayStation IPs to make one specific stage is a really neat way to change things up and make it stand out.
An interesting idea.
Yeah, I just didn't like that a lot of stages in that game are basically you're just in a boxed off area because it actually doesn't matter if you fall off the stage in this game.
Yeah.
The maps in Smash are almost as important as the characters, and in Sony, it was in Sony PlayStation's Battle Royale, Sony PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. There we go. Mm-hmm. It was just window dressing. It was cool. It's cool that you went from Master Chop Chop Dojo and Parappa the Rapper to was it Warzone?
No, I thought it was Metal Gear. It
might have been Metal Gear.
I think a Metal Gear shows up and then Master Chop Chop fights him in the background.
Yeah, like that was like that sort of stuff is cool. Or the was it like Hades from God of War and then like Loco Roco or whatever? That was kind of
that one. Yeah, and there was also Little Big Planet and Buzz, which was a fun one.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I would love to see it. I'm not one of those people. Like, I enjoy the gameplay of Smash. I'd like to see more games expand on that and change it and do their own things. And I also like all-star games because I just, this seems like a great place for them to add Gex, who was already in Hot Shot. So I think he's got a better shot here.
That's it. This is our big ride around to get.
I'd personally love it. Would Atreus be his own character, or would he just follow? Would he follow Kratos around and just shoot arrows? I think it'd be his own character.
I think it'd be his own character. Kratos is already in the game now, so
yeah, exactly.
Unless you have Daddy Kratos as you have Dad as a separate character.
That would be awful. I kind of respect that we don't have that in Smash. Like, I guess we do. We've got 3 links, but it's
at least they're 3 separate people.
Next question.
Right, all right. No, this is going to be the last question, so we wrap up. And I made it a Smash Brothers one because I thought that'd be probably a good one to end on. So, with almost every Mii costume now back, with the only exceptions being Lloyd and the 2 Monster Hunter ones, do you think the last 3 Mii costumes will just return in hand, disconfirming Lloyd and Monster Hunter, or do you think they've been held back for a specific reason?
They'll just return.
They'll just return.
Yeah, they'll just return.
Here's the deal with that. So, number one, the Capcom costumes haven't come back. Have been consistently coming back since almost the beginning. I'd have to look it up, but they just release them whenever. They seem to be the filler costumes. Mm-hmm. Like, they've been released like 1 or 2 with like almost every DLC wave. So there's no reason to think Monster Hunter's being held back for any specific purpose. There could be another Capcom character, but I don't think, even if that's the case, they might not come with the Monster Hunter costumes because of how Capcom's DLCs happen. There's also the chance that Monster Hunter could be one of the last 3 in the past. But even if that's true, I think we would get those costumes back at that point. But I don't think that's why the costumes have been held back. I think they're just being held back. If the Namco costumes were all, if the other 2 Namco costumes, Gil and Heihachi, weren't released yet, then I'd be like, yeah, we're getting a character. But I just feel like they're just holding some costumes off to be filler in different waves.
Yeah, I think they were probably held off for no specific reason before, but with Monster Hunter coming out, they might release them with the next character, whatever the next character is, just to advertise Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I feel like the Monster Hunter ones may be being held back to come with another Monster Hunter character. Like, if Rise is actually getting a character, then we'll get the Rathalos armor and regular armor as Mii costumes because those aren't clashing. We're not going to be getting the Rathalos Monster Hunter as a character. But like, I could totally see that, but the Lloyd one, I mean, it's possible Tails of gets a character and that's why they're holding it off, but at the same time, I just don't see Lloyd and Tails of getting a character, basically. I don't think the fact that they've been held off at this stage means anything. So if they get in, cool. If they don't get in, I mean, they'll come back as costumes.
Yeah. Somebody in chat, I think it was Doodle, said it was Patapon and God of War. I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot the name of the game. It's Patapon. I couldn't remember what it was.
Patapon.
Yeah. Since this was a quick one for me, I'm also really quick. Somebody asked who I want from the last three for the Smash Pass. I'll say real quick with no reasoning. Ryu Hayabusa, Master Chief, and Rex and Pyro. Why not?
Sure. I think I've given mine a few times. If it was had to be people I really want, I'd go Crash, Bandicoot, Arl, Nadja, and a Xenoblade character, I guess. If it's characters I want, not characters I expect.
Yeah, 3 I want: Bandana Waddle Dee, Shin Megami Tensei 5 protagonist, and probably another Zelda character.
Yeah, another Zelda character would be great.
Colin, do you want to give your 3 to end this off with?
You don't have
to.
Anyone you want.
Is there even 3 characters left? Oh yeah, there is. I want to see John Geist. I want to see Phoenix Wright, and I want to see fuck it. I want to see Casey from Guitar Hero. You know.
Yeah, no Paul McCartney. That's a shocker.
Dead meme.
Dead meme.
Right.
Yeah.
So hard to get.
It's over.
Did anyone have anything else to say about the costumes? I feel like I'm the only one that really talked about that, but I don't.
No, no. I mean, we gave our thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
I would better to fight a bear or a shark. I'd give the bear better odds.
Depends. Are we in water or not?
Yeah,
this is the question.
Water. Here's the thing: a shark can't fight on land. A bear can at least fight in the water. I'd give the money to the shark, obviously. There's too many variables. We'll come back later. Officially submit this question with the species and location, and
this is why
back.
Stages are so important in fighting games because
exactly
they have a big effect. All right, thank you everybody for tuning in for our second AMA session. God, I can't think now. We've been going on for too long. It's been nearly 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So. Enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz, Patreon, yada yada yada. Just stay on board for all of our upcoming content because I know it's been a slow month, January, but it's also like, you know, it's December. We just had the Christmas holidays. We're all sort of easing into the new year. I've been doing a bunch of admin stuff, but we got a lot of videos and stuff in the works, including that Brawl video is currently being worked on. So you should all see that very shortly.
New
so just
Sakurai translation on Wednesday.
Yep, new Sakurai translation on Wednesday. And yeah, we've been doing stuff on the website. We have the part-time UFO translations last week.
Yeah, check those out if you didn't. Those are really great. Yeah,
there was some really good information on music and UI in those. The UI one is especially really cool, I think. But yeah, that's my recommendation for you to do with your Sunday. So do it. This is an order. Alright, guys. Thank you. See you next time.
Have a good one, fellas.
See ya.